Hello friends, welcome to my little cabin here in Tofino, British Columbia. I'm Lisa Aye, and today I'm here to show you a recipe out of my original SoBo cookbook. It is salmon with sorrel sauce and layered potatoes. So this recipe has a couple of different processes. The first one I'm going to do takes the longest. So while the potatoes are cooking, I can make the sauce and prepare the Swiss chard. So layered potatoes. At home you might know them as scallop potatoes or au gratin potatoes. So many variations, but this one I'm going to keep really super simple with just a couple of ingredients because the sauce itself is going to really shine, and we really just want some well-cooked potatoes for it. So to do that, we need 4 Yukon Gold potatoes. I like slicing them on a mandolin so they're nice and even. I do like my fingers too though, so I'm really careful. I know these mandolins come with a guard. I probably had the guard 20 years ago, but you know, I've learned a method about holding my hand flat. It's a little bit of my slick trickies things. You may have heard me say this before, and I'm going to show you how not to cut your hand off, or I'm going to try to show you how not to cut your hand off. It's usually the worst thing to say. Now I'm going to cut myself. So I take my potato, put my mandolin at an angle, and tightly grip it, and just start slicing through. I'm going to continue to adjust it. I'm going to adjust it up against my body because that's just a really good holding place for me. Now, watch my hand. See how it starts to fan up? It's a natural. You just have this little knob left. Maybe you want to save that, put it in cold water for your mashed potatoes. Or, again, flatten your hand, hold it, and go really slowly. Boom. There you go. But it's a really quick, handy tool, and a lot of people have them in their kitchen nowadays. It's very common. You can cut onions on it. Take your oven-proof baking pan. I'm just cooking for my daughter and I right now, so I'm only making enough for 2. Put a little bit of the cream on the bottom. Keep the potatoes from sticking. Tiny little knob of butter. And then I'm going to lay the potatoes down. A little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh cracked pepper. And now I'm layering a little teeny bit of cream, not too much, a little bit to moisten them. We don't want it to be too rich, and so on, and so on. And 1, 2, 3. Ready for the oven. I'm going to pop these in the oven for about 45 minutes. I'm going to start the sorrel sauce now, and to begin I'm going to dice up or mince up 2 shallots. So sauce time. I'm going to take some of this beautiful sorrel, and if you're not familiar with sorrel, it's a very lemony herb that starts to come out in the spring. You'll find that in my recipe books, my cookbooks, my recipe books, that I often take sorrel and blend it with nettles. So you could too in this recipe, it's all good. But blanch your nettles first because they're stinging. Anyway, we're going to start with some sorrel leaves in a little blender. I'm just going to make a small batch because, as I said, I'm just feeding Ella and I right now, so I don't need to make a lot of sauce, and it's so quick and easy and vibrant. If I want more tomorrow, it takes me about 1.5 minutes to do this. So there's my sorrel. I'm going to take some shallot, a little bit of the roasted garlic or confit garlic, I love garlic. Garlic's good for you, so I'm certainly not going to be shy with the garlic. And I have that nice infused olive oil that's left over. And I won't be throwing that away, you know, I'll be using that. A little pinch of salt in there. A little bit of your favorite hot sauce. Like a cayenne sauce. A bit of heavy whipping cream. Now, when I say heavy whipping cream, that means 33 to 36%. It's what it's normally sold at your grocery store. It's just very luxurious and you don't need tons of it. A little dab will do ya. There we go. And if the sorrel's not lemony enough, which it is, but I love lemon, so I'm going to go for a little bit more. A little more lemon, and now we're just going to blend it to smooth. So now, oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I was looking for. Okay, now it's time to check on our potatoes. And as soon as our potatoes are ready, we'll pull them out of the oven, and that's when we'll saute our Swiss chard, or whatever green you choose to use. But today, the gardener, Dion, dropped off this beautiful Swiss chard from her fantabulous garden called Long Beach Farms. If you're traveling to the Tofino area, you can look up Long Beach Farms and she'll make a little basket for you and bring it to your villa or your wherever you're staying. And you know, maybe you don't have a stove or a kitchen there, but maybe you just want some really good solid greens to eat right out of the bag. I would. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, why not? Oh yeah, that looks okay. I can live with that. So I'm just gonna let these rest a little bit. We will cook our Swiss chard and our salmon at the same time, and it's going to take about 5 minutes. Okay, so I'll turn my stove on, get both my pans smoking hot. I'm gonna add a little neutral oil to my salmon pan and a little bit of, oh, you know what I want to do? I have the oil from the garlic, so why not? Oh yeah, I'm totally down with this. Just a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan, although that might have been a little bit more than a little. So while I'm waiting for these pans to get hot, I'm just gonna clean my chard up just a hair. Well, I'm not really gonna clean it, I'm just gonna destem it. And I don't waste, really don't like waste. All of this is nutritious. And we'll let this hit the pan first. We're basically going to sweat this down. So I'm going to let the stems go about 30 seconds to 1 minute before I add, oh, a little sneaky stem, before I add the leaves. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the leaves bulky because I like the way it folds around on the plate. And like spinach or any wilting green kale, it really does shrink down quite a bit. So sometimes what I do when I'm braising or sauteing my green, I add a little bit of water. I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to take my beautiful wild spring salmon, otherwise known as Chinook or King, and we're super lucky here on the coast to have this available to us. Keyword wild salmon. Don't wind me up. I'm going to slice some lemons because I like a little roasted lemon in it. This is just I think it's a pretty little addition to the pan. Lemon on the sides here. And again, if you have watched me cooking fish at all, you know that the fish is going to tell me when it's time to turn. That means it releases from the pan. And this one is pretty quickly here. We're only looking at, what are we looking at? 45 seconds, maybe a minute so far. But I do want to cook it about 3 minutes on this side, and then we're going to put it directly into the oven. I'm not going to flip this one at all, actually. I see the movement here. I'm going to let it finish gently in the oven. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes, and when I say a couple, virtually a couple. Oh yeah. And the salmon's out. When you make these recipes, or I hope you make these recipes from Together at SoBo or the original The SoBo cookbook, go ahead and send them to me. Send me a picture. Tell me a story about it. That means the world to me. I think food's about sharing, and I'm sharing my stories. You share yours with me, please. Really, really appreciate that. Okay, gorgeous Swiss chard, Long Beach Farms. I love you. Here we go, onto the plate. Incredible. Some beautiful potatoes here. And this very special spoon. This spoon is passed down from Elsie Cummings, my dear, dear, beautiful friend from out in Edmonton. And if I'm not mistaken, sometimes I do make up my own history, but I believe this to be true. I do believe this was her grandmother's. So extremely special. I'm going to add my sorrel sauce. And so while you'll see in this recipe, it didn't call for lots of heavy cream because I've got this gorgeous sauce. We just really needed enough fat on the potatoes to steam them well in the oven, nicely bake. You can just use olive oil. If you do not want dairy, no problem. Use olive oil. Same with the sauce. Use olive oil instead of the heavy whipping cream. Absolutely not a problem. The only problem is if your dietary restrictions keep you from making a recipe. We got to sort that out. Here we go. Oh yeah, I like it. There we go. On top, let's take this roasted lemon and why not? We still have a few flowers. Why not? I'm not in a restaurant right now doing this. This is my home. And yes, while this has got a couple of chips in it, this piece was from Ireland. My daughter is just now going to walk in the door any minute, and she's just gotten off a plane. My son is bringing her home. That's why I want to make one of her favorite dishes. And she's coming home from Dublin. Now, I didn't plan this because if I had planned it, I would be a psychic because this book came out in 2014 and this dish was plated on this plate. It just happens to be a good part of a story today that the girl's coming home from Dublin. This pottery was bought at an estate sale in Chatham, New York 30 years ago, and I still use it. You'll notice I'm still using the from this little thing I bought. I still use the salt and pepper, even though it's not really for salt and pepper. It's really a goblet. And I still use whatever this vase was supposed to be for my utensils. So I hope that you enjoy this dish as much as Ella and I will. And I'm guessing Barkley's coming down for his share too. Maybe I won't even have dinner. I think I didn't make enough for all three of us. Bad mom. I'm going to give it to both my kids. But there's so many great greens left from Dion, I'll probably have a good salad.